this is Joanna and I'm back today with another card for the alleyway stamps. And today I'm using Phone Home and I'm using these two cute aliens, and they are supposed to go in the spaceship, but I'm not using the spaceship today. And this is the card front. It's a standard size card, and the card front is, I'm not sure if you can see it on the video, but it's Woodgrain. And I'm going to use my dies from Spellbinders to die cut a circle in the front panel. And I'm just using some post-it tape to hold the die in place, and I'll bring it over to my die cut machine. And I can save that centerpiece for another project, so I will save that. And then I'm just using I'm going to put the front piece on foam later on, but I'm just using it to trace a circle, so I know where the circle is. And now it's time to stamp all those cute aliens. So I'm just using the circle that I drew to know where I should stamp my aliens, and I'm just alternating the height of them so they look like they are peeking out from behind the circle. And I'm going to do some coloring with Copics later, so I'm using my Copic multiliner to extend some of the lines, so I'm sure that they are hidden behind the circle. And I was stamping also with Memento black ink. That is one of my favorite inks when I'm coloring with Copics. And here I'm just using my heat gun to make sure that the ink is dry. And then I just erase the pencil line with an eraser. And this is something that I picked up in my local artist store, and it's masking, but it's meant for watercolor, and I haven't tried it with I'm going to do some distress ink on the background. I haven't tried it with distress ink, but it worked out really fine. You will see in the as you can see in the end result. So I'm just painting this on, and it's a really good one. I think I haven't tried any other masking fluid either. This is the first one I ever tried, and it was really inexpensive. And I think usually I use post-it tape to create masks, but this is much faster. And here I'm just using the same masking fluid to create some stars in the sky. And then it's time to stamp the planets. So I'm just bringing out my Memento again, and I'm stamping all of my planets in the upper right corner. And here I'm just checking so it looks good. And I want one more planet, so I'm stamping one more in the upper left. And then I just used my masking fluid to cover up them as well. And this masking fluid is it's not like glossy accent. It's thinner. I don't know what I can compare it to. But it's really easy to work with. And here I'm working on my sentiment strips, and I'm creating my own sentiment strips today because I'm going to color in my monsters yellow, green and teal. So I'm using 2 colors of teal to color in my white paper, and also 1 color of green. And then I just cut banner edges to create some interest. And I do this a lot. I have a lot of white paper. I don't have too much pattern paper because I tend to be a hoarder. So even if I buy pattern paper, I think they're so beautiful, so I rarely use them. So that's why I don't buy pattern paper anymore. I just use my pencils, and I use different techniques, and I create my own instead. And here this is the one that I am going to stamp the sentiment on. So I want this to be a little darker than the other ones. so because I'm going to do some white embossing. And I'm using the same sentiment from this. I'm using a sentiment from the same stamp set, and I'm just cutting this apart. And it's, if you don't want to cut your stamp apart, you can just mask it off. But I cut my stamps apart all the time, and you can just mount them back together as they were intended very easily. So here I've just used my grid mat to make sure that they are straight, and then I will stamp them on my banner with Versamark. And then I will use some Ranger Detail White Embossing Powder. And I actually forgot to use my anti-static tool, and it worked out really fine. I'm not sure if it's the alcohol marker or... But otherwise, if I don't use the anti-static tool, I have white powder or embossing powder everywhere. So yeah, that was really surprising. And then I just used my heat tool to melt the embossing powder. And this took, I have to be honest with you, it took forever to dry. So it took like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. I actually went for a walk with my dog. And when I came back, it was dry, so I think I was out for half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. So, well, it takes a long time. So maybe it's faster if you create masks if you're in a hurry. Anyway, this was quite sticky, so you can see I used my anti-static tool there just to make them not so sticky, so I can run my distress tool over them. And then I just used 2 shades of distress ink to create my night sky. And now it's time to remove the masks, and I'm just using my fingers and I'm rubbing them off, and they come off really easy. So I'm really happy with the result, and I think I'm going to use this masking fluid a lot. I think so. It was really easy to use. And the only thing is that it takes forever to dry, but if you know that and you can incorporate that in your schedule, I think this is a really good tool to have. And here I'm just using my Copic markers to color in all of my little aliens. And this is really easy Copic coloring. I'm just using 2 shades per monster. And then I take the darker marker of the 2 and I create some dots so they look like they have a little bit of texture. And I have sped up this portion quite a bit, so hopefully you won't get bored watching me color. And if you're interested in any of the colors that I used, they are listed over at my blog, and you can find that address in the YouTube description down below. And you can, on my blog, you can also find a full supply list if you're interested. And now it's time to adhere my front panel onto my card base, and I'm using some 3M foam tape, and I'm cutting my foam tape apart to make sure that it fits. And then I just adhere my front panel onto my card, and this is always a tricky part for me. I always struggle a lot when I try to to adhere this straight on. But I managed to do this today as well. And here is some glitter paper, and I actually picked up this glitter paper at my local grocery store. So yeah, and it's really inexpensive, and it has adhesive on the back, so I really love it. So I tend to use it a lot lately, and I will use it on this project as well. But here I'm just playing with the placement of my banners, and then I just use my ATG to adhere them all in place. So I'm just using my grid mat to make sure that they are straight. And my husband is always giving me a hard time about this glue glider. He thinks that this is the biggest glue glider in the whole universe, so he's always making fun of me. But hey, I never run out of adhesive, so yeah, I love my ATG. And here I just adhere my last banner, the one with the sentiment on, and then I just use a scissor to cut off the excess. And here I'm deciding that maybe this strip is a little bit too wide, so I'm just using my paper trimmer to cut down a smaller piece, and this looks much better. So this is the one I'm going to use, and I'm adhering this with multi-matte medium because this strip is so thin, so I don't trust the adhesive that's behind the silver paper, so I'm just adding some more adhesive. And this is multi-medium matte. This is also a really good adhesive to use because if you are a little bit messy with your adhesive, this dries matte, so no one will ever know. And then I just cut off the excess. And if you have a thin strip like this, one really good tip that I can share with you is to use your ruler and press against the thin strip, and it will dry and adhere perfectly straight. And then as a finish touch, I just use my white gel pen to create some additional stars to my night sky. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So I hope that you like this card and you get inspired, and I hope that I see you soon. Take care. Bye.